Alright, we're going to read part 2 of the Seven Taoist Masters. This book, of course, is reversed on this as a mirror, like my late night clothing. So, part 2 of the intro, which I didn't finish the first part. Each of the 7 disciples also has to surmount an obstacle that constitutes the most intransigent part of his or her ego. For Ma Tanyang, it is complacency. He needs his wife Sun Puer to decide for him what he should do. When the other disciples accompany Wong Yang on his travels, Ma Tanyang stays behind. And when the group of disciples disbands after Wang Yang's departure to the immortal realm, Ma Tanyang falls into laziness and does not train as rigorously as the others. It is only when Sun Puer returns briefly to check his progress that Ma Tanyang finally realizes that complacency is preventing him from advancing. For Sun Puer, the obstacle is intellectualism. She studies the Taoist scriptures before being initiated into Taoist training by Wong Yang. Much of her doubt and her inability to transcend written knowledge with practical training is founded on her assumptions of what Taoist training is all about. For Chiu Changchun, the obstacle is impatience. Chiu Changchun cannot restrain himself from interrupting Wang Chungyang's lectures and voicing his opinions in front of others. He wants to learn things that are far beyond his capacity. Even when he's made much progress in his training, he jumps to conclusions prematurely and would have taken his own life if the Lords of Heaven had not intervened to save him. For Liu Chongsheng, it is sexual desire. He fantasizes being invited to a gathering at the palace of the Empress of Heaven. Unable to control his desire, he glances at the Empress's court ladies out of the corner of his eye. Tan Changchen's obstacle is pride. Pride makes him sit outside the Ku family mansion until he is admitted inside. Even then, when he is acknowledged as a teacher of the Tao, pride makes him stay at the Ku mansion until he realizes that, for the good of his student and for himself, he should leave. For Hao Tai Ku, it is rigidity. Sitting under the bridge by the river, Hao Tai Ku forms an impression that Taoist meditation means quiet sitting, and does not abandon his self-imposed vigil until a Taoist immortal shows him alternatives. For Wang Yang, it is his competitive attitude. In order to win his duel with an impostor, he returns the practice of Taoist meditation into a competition and forces himself to sit for an unnatural length of time. Seven Taoist Masters is also about the personal sacrifices that one needs to make in order to complete Taoist training. Wang Chungyang sacrifices his wealth and social position in his village by pretending to be stricken with an incurable disease. Ma Tanyang generously gives his wealth to Wang Chungyang for building a Taoist retreat and supporting a community of Taoist recluses. Sun Puer sacrifices her beauty and intellectualism by immolating her face and becoming a beggar to live among the lowest social class. Chiu Changchun's sacrifice is probably the greatest. He repeatedly sacrifices comfort and material gain. He is even willing to give up his life so that the life of another can be saved. Liu Changsheng is able to ignore the comments of others who taunt him for his sojourns at the brothels. In this way, he sacrifices external respect to achieve internal development. Tan Changchen gives up the life of comfort provided for him by his student to return to the life of a begging monk. Without a second thought, Hao Tai Ku relinquishes the meditation caves that he has excavated for himself to other Taoist hermits. Wang Yang gives up an opportunity to be a respected Taoist teacher so that he may continue his training in peace. There are many other incidences in which personal sacrifice is called for, and none of the 7 masters hesitates to give up what is demanded of them. Taoist training is no easy matter. Although described in a prototypical form, the tremendous efforts and personal sacrifices required for attaining immortality described in the book are not exaggerated. Apart from personal conviction and discipline, environmental conditions and support from family and friends are also crucial in Taoist training. Sun Puer is told to go to a place of spiritual power and live in isolation to facilitate her training. Wang Chungyang builds a retreat in Ma Tanyang's mansion, complete with meditation rooms and a lecture hall, so that people with similar spiritual interests can mutually support each other. Tan Changchen leaves the Ku mansion because too much comfort can retard spiritual training. how Taiku achieves enlightenment in the isolated cliff caves of Hua Shan. For Liu Chongsheng, the brothels provide an environment in which he can confront his sexual desires and dissolve them. Chiu Chongchun lives in extreme conditions, from abandoned temples to remote river gorges, so that he can temper his nature and tame his heart. In Seven Taoist Masters, we also see that support from family and friends is important in Taoist training. First, witness the total lack of support from Wong Chunyang's wife and friends. As a result, he has to feign ill health and madness before he can practice Taoism in peace. This constitutes the most unsupportive family environment. Next, consider the non-interfering attitude of Chiu Chongchun's brothers. They let him pursue his interest in peace, but they do not provide active support and encouragement. This lack of active support is hinted at in Chiu Chongchun's secret departure from his home. The family environment is not hostile, but if there is any support, it is passive rather than active. The relationship between Ma Tanyang and Sun Puer represents the ideal environmental condition for Taoist training. Husband and wife have the same interest, and both are willing to sacrifice their physical relationship for spiritual advancement. Chao Pi and his friends are able to give up a life of living outside the law and finally become Taoist monks because, as a closely knit circle of friends, they are able to provide one another with the moral support needed to change their lives. Throughout the book, numerous incidents illustrate the Taoist belief that karma is built from actions. Reward and retribution will be given according to one's actions. Destiny can be changed by human actions, and the foundations necessary to Taoist training may have been laid in previous lifetimes. Seven Taoist Masters is a book about correct thought and action in Taoist living. In Taoism, the development of the body is intricately tied to the taming of the mind. This is especially so at the more advanced levels of Taoist training. My master, Moi Lin Shin, has gradually given me more advice on taming the desires and egotistic tendencies of the mind while conducting my daily life rather than specific instructions in meditation, Qigong, and the internal martial arts. A mind tamed of attachment facilitates the body's response to the methods of cultivating and circulating internal energy. As a matter of fact, the practice of Taoist Qigong is extremely dangerous if the ego is dominant. The taming of the mind is accomplished and reflected in our daily life. In Seven Taoist Masters, we are presented with the examples of seven remarkable individuals who not only mastered the theory of Taoism and internal alchemy, but lived it. As part of the Taoist canon, it is considered by major Taoist sects as an introduction to Taoism for both the novice initiate and the lay public. It may be read as a manual of Taoist training, but then again, it may be simply read as a story of seven individuals who overcome tremendous hardships on a path to self-discovery and fulfillment. And that is the end of the introduction. I might make one comment here so that those of you who cultivate in different practices would know that the seven here is significant for the seven chakras, and each of these characters represent one of the qualities of each of the chakras. The seven primary chakras that are the major energy centers where chi is gathered, pulled in, and expressed out. We pull in and express out. Anyway, knowing the personalities of these characters is getting to know a face of yourself in a universal frequency like a string on an instrument. Love you.